हेलो फ्रेंड्स, आज का हमारा कैरियर बॉक्स एपिसोड US-CMA के ऊपर है और आज के हमारे जो गेस्ट है वो अंकुर चक्रवर्ती है जो CFO है एनालिटिक्स सॉल्यूशंस के। तो वेलकम करते हैं अंकुर, वेलकम टू कैरियर बॉक्स। कैरियर बॉक्स जो सेशंस है वो LJ यूनिवर्सिटी का इनिशिएटिव है एंड इट इज़ पावर बाय LJradio।
थैंक यू सो मच। थैंक यू सो मच फॉर द इनवाइट।
अंकुर, सेशन शुरू करने का पहला क्वेश्चन मेरा जो है दैट इज़ आज तक आपका व्हाट योर बेसिक पर्पस ऑफ डूइंग द US-CMA qualifications?
Yes, sir. So very good questions, and first again, thank you for inviting me in this session. I have already been, in this industry in the finance since more than 20 plus years, and then we had this COVID, and during COVID, and I had the MBA long back. And during COVID, I was doing a lot of client advisories, client works, discussions, and then thought that maybe getting into a certified course would really help me establish the credibility, and that would also help market our services, because we need to show a credibility even in front of our clients. So that was the first kick. The second one was after working so many years, leading a family life, and just trying to challenge myself, can I do a certified course which needs dedications, discipline, and really able to do it? And that was also a booster, and that forced me that okay, let's do it. And that's how I kind of did the whole US-CMA course.
Yes, Ankur, in today's time, the global certification play very important roles in the corporate careers. Now, when we talk about CMA, US-CMA, what are the level of studies and what's its relevance in the industry?
Yes, it has got lot of relevance. The way US-CMA whole course has been designed is to support the student to really think critically about the financial performances and also health, and also be able to take financial decisions. So that's very important. So the relevance is there. The thing is, at what point of your life cycle in your career journey you are doing that course. So for a student, if they're just passing out 12th or graduations and doing it, then they can have that strong academic background of knowing the things and then to do it. However, because they lack the experience part of it, they may not be knowing a lot of nuances that goes in a business life. However, if someone is say 5, 6, 7 years experience, I did pretty late though, but normally 5, 6 years if you have an experience, then you have a very great and a good hold of that, and you really understand what exactly the course is trying to say you. You are able to know and understand the things more critically and how you need to communicate, because important that I know the things what's happening, but am I able to communicate it to you in a simpler terms, which is more would be helpful for you. So that's what it teaches. So that way it's very relevant.
Yes, very correct. When we talk about management accounting, it contains two parts. So one is concept and second is application. So application is very important behind the concept aspect. Now, what is examination format for CMA?
In CMA, they have 2 papers. And then you have to give that 2 papers. The whole exam duration is 4 hours. So 3 hours they have that 100 MCQ, and then the last 1 hour is the case study.
Okay, simulations.
Simulations, 2 case studies. The way the whole question sequences they arrange is like theory, then again practical theory. So it slows you down. So that's how it has been designed. But then 4 hours non-stop you have to sit in both the part 1 and part 2.
As per subjects part concern, I think we can have there's papers that is FR, matlab financial reporting, and the costings, we can say finance is there, and up to some extent it is IT also there, because very well IT is a part
included some portion.
Yes, and auditing is also, some chapters would be on auditing. So all these things are common in every professional course, and I think CMA is more connected with management accounting structure, but all this subjects content is already there. Yes. Now the next question is that if any students want to pursue that particular course, what would be the course structure, tuition fees and examination fees? Ankur?
Yeah, so I would say, you should be considering around the whole tuition fee. Then they have membership fee. Then they have an annual maintenance fee. So including everything, it would be around 90K, 80K. And I would suggest one should also take education, coaching institutions. They should go through a coaching. So that would be another, say, 40, 50K. So within a budget of 120 to 150, thousand, one can, do it. So I'm more in US side, so it's 1,000, right? So yeah, 1,20,000 and 1,50,000.
So 1,50,000 we can say on the higher side.
Higher side.
That
For
is
students, it's even less. For professional, the charges are a little bit on a higher side. For students, it's lesser.
So it's a very good aspect. Now the one more question. When we talk about the CMA, there is a confusion between Indian CMA and US CMA. So little bit highlights on this part.
Yes. So yes, students normally gets confused with that. The differences are Indian CMA, which is actually previously it was ICWA.
Yes.
Yeah. So that extends, expands, and then the whole extensive is pretty extensive, and a lot of other courses it's lengthier also. The coverage is pretty big in Indian CMA, and
yes, in depth.
It's a lot of in depth, and it also holds some statutory part related to your cost audit, and especially in hardcore manufacturing setup, if they need a cost auditor, that as ICW, Indian CMA can do that audit. However, the US CMA is more the global. It's addressing a global population and global certification, and it is not touching much about the compliances side of it, because compliances are very specific to a specific country, right? So, and it is a global, and it is mainly focusing on the planning side of it, performance analysis side of it, and financial decision side of it. So that's where I believe, and these components are also there in Indian CMA. Plus, in Indian CMA, more so with Indian laws and regulations are also being included.
Ankur, I want one more favor. So also you compare with the CMA courses, because both are something connected with management accounting.
Yeah, so that is again the UK based. In UK again, it is a lot of in-depth and lengthier. So I would say if I compare like UK CMA and then Indian CMA and then US-CMA is the shorter version, but a lot of application version. So, and within that short version, it has covered all the relevant and applicable, which is on a day-to-day finance field you need. So those are being covered very nicely. And that is also one of the reason why I kind of picked up that, okay, probably this would be the right one for me, balancing my work life, my family life, and also able to clear this.
Yes, it is very correct. After getting a few years of experience and reaching to the leadership position, sometimes we not get that much time to do the course in the depth. So at that time, this type of certification really helps. And I see CPA and the US-CMA everywhere. Analytical skill enhancement is excellent way. Always I see in Indian professional qualification is much about the examination depth and etc. But US qualification is more on the analytical skill check. So that is a major difference part what we see.
So here I would like to put a very good point. Why? So have we really thought about what you have said? Exactly correct. And why it is like that? So that is also important to know why, because our Indian courses are so expanded, and so much of things that the students, they mainly try to focus to clear the exam, and they have to study a lot. However, with that scope in there, so they miss out that the application part of it. But on the US-CMA side of it, because the courses is pretty crisp, it MCQ based, case study based, so application weightage on the application side is given higher priority. So that way also you can differentiate why this kind of differences we can see.
Ankur, I want your insight for those students who want to pursue corporate job profile in the future. What type of skill set they need to be addressed?
Yes. So first, let's not confuse certifications with skills.
Yeah.
Skills is different and certification is different. All these certifications would add a lot of value, like India CMA if you do, or US CMA, they will definitely add a lot of value. It certifies that you know the subject, you know what's goes on. However, from skill perspective, it is more the softer skill, how you are able to apply, how you are able to tell the story in front of your managers or to the CFOs. So those are more critical to have. And that's where I think students should put more focus and priority. So have I answered your questions or
Yeah. It's absolutely correct. One more things I want to ask Ankur, that about you know very well now AI era will start. So in that case, how this profession would impact?
so AI is a big thing now, and this is something inevitable. It's going to come. It has already we can see what kind of processes and impacts AI is putting. The whole thought process and tendencies people are having right now is that the AI is going to change the way we are working right now. The transaction thing, data entries, a lot of automations, everything already been there. On top of that, now AI has come to make the judgmental thing. So
Yes, that
yeah,
stage
so
is already
that
started.
that has stage has already started. So now we, for students also, yes, knowing the fundamentals are very much important and critical. So this kind of US CMA, India CMA, they would definitely help strengthen their fundamental concepts of the subject and what it is, because knowing that thing is critical. However, at the same point of time, I would suggest they should also look at and learn the skill on the AI side of it, from application perspective, how a concept being implemented and be used using an AI. So there are now agents are coming in. People are saying now instead of employees, the agents should be doing all the work. But the real time company problem would be, or maybe one can face, is that AI has given you the output. Now, whether the output is right, wrong, or if the system is hallucinated or not, who would take that call? So, one human interference should be there. So, until now, that's the thought process. Now, again, machines are also getting more matured and more perfect. So, again, 3 years, 4 years down the line, things might change. But at this point in time, yes, lot of things can take care by AI, but still a human intervention would be needed, and for that you need a knowledgeable person.
Very correct, Ankur. We need to have a balance between human capital and token capitals. Now, one more question, Ankur. You work as a CFO, so our students also want to know what is the role of CFO in the organization.
Yeah, so a CFO role is pretty wide that way, because it's kind of it's not kind of the CFO's role is not accounting and bookkeeping. So it's more about how you are managing the risk, how you are creating the value for the company, and also how you are preserving that value, and how you are able to give that return to the stakeholders, to the shareholders of the company. So that's where the whole component goes into. So mainly right now, if I see by different roles, it's about how CFO's role mainly revolves around ability to source different fundings, how they can allocate different fundings, what would be the whole capital structure, using that thing, how one can enhance the value of the company. So connecting to many investors. So those are the roles a CFO plays. But in my case, we are not in a listed company. It's a private company. It's a small company. So a lot of the times the role, it keeps shifting between CFO, also controller. You also have to take care of the financials are being, closed properly.
Yes,
the
compliance
compliances
part.
are being made on time, so you have the team, but you have to also ensure that whether that is being done on time or not. So all those things also, and then giving the planning and budgeting part, so that's again critical for the company. So those things also gets in all the different MISs, and you have to do a business partnering with all the business unit heads. We have got different services, all the different service heads, and you need to partner with them. So those kind of activities as a CFO would cover. But the expense is very different depending upon what size of companies you are playing that role.
Ankur, one closer questions. What single skill set you feel youth need when they enter into corporate life?
Yes, and this is something I have also faced, and faced a lot of challenges coming from the college, and even during while growing, is that you should be able to tell your story very convincingly, very smartly, and one should definitely try to practice that that elevator pitch thing within that 1 minute or 30 seconds, how you can communicate what you want to say. So that skill is very very much essential nowadays. And even if it's a presentation, say 30 minutes presentation or 50 minutes presentation, how can you make it impactful with that? So those kind of skills are very much important. And third one, I would say, because I have also hired CAs and CMAs who are fresh passed out.
Yes.
What I have seen is that technically they are very strong. However, making or connecting the dots between how a real-time business situation evolves and how you can apply your intelligence, your learnings with those dots. That is very much critical. So initially it doesn't come, but over the period of your experiences, by within 2-3 years, you get to know that also. But you should always have that, inclination to learn these things. And if you can inculcate these skills at school and college level, I would say that would be really great.
Yes, as per Kunal Shah grade, they always say that absolute learner is the ultimate skills what needed youth today. Thank you very much, Ankur, for coming to our podcast and giving interesting insights for US-CMA. On behalf of LJ University, I really thanks to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for me. Yeah.